is the first of the fourth 2-4, and in today's F1 news, F1 owners Liberty Media have agreed to take over MotoGP in a deal said to be worth €4 billion. Oh. And in trying to get this deal over the line, Liberty Media had to see off multiple other entities, most notably of which are Sports Entertainment Group, TKO, and state-backed group Qatar Sports Investments, the owners of Paris Saint-Germain. The FT had reported that there were concerns, anti-competitive ones, monopoly settings, especially when you consider it was only 2006 when CVC partners, owners then of F1, were forced to sell MotoGP prior to bidding. Then EU competition regulators had raised concerns. But what will Liberty Media do with MotoGP? Because as a sports series, it has issues not dissimilar to those that F1 has gone through. As at April 24, MotoGP has one crossover superstar. His name, Marc Marquez. MotoGP's success then is a derivative of Marquez PLC. They are reliant upon him. Much in the same way that F1's recent success is a derivative of 2021, Drive to Survive, and COVID. The F1 world waits with bated breath to see what synergies might arise from this deal, what this means for F1 going forward. Liberty Media, John Maloney et al. He's looking at you, kid. And in other news, it's race weekend. Suzuka Grand Prix is less than 5 days away. For those who view F1 through the lens of competitive racing, upside of course is the ongoing tumult at Red Bull. That on the back of Australia, Scuderia Ferrari are absolutely in an upswing. Their momentum is positive. But if there's a track currently on the F1 calendar that's Max Verstappen territory, then Suzuka is that. At this very fixture in recent years, the Dutchman's exploits have been nothing short of dominant. Lest we forget in 2022, when over the course of 28 laps, he put 27 seconds on Charles Leclerc. Truly weapons grade by anyone's standards. And given that the forecast for this weekend's Grand Prix is rain and changeable conditions, to bet against Max Verstappen, you'd have to be a fool. And in other F1 news, it's been reported that Max Verstappen is holding silly season hostage. Here's what I mean. Fernando Alonso, Liam Lawson, Carlos Sainz Jr. and Alex Albon are all front and centre as far as contenders for the Red Bull seat. The aforementioned are in wait and see mode. Max Verstappen has first mover advantage. If Max stays put, they have to find other seats. If Max ends up at Mercedes though, they'll have to duke it out. For the avoidance of doubt then, the bottleneck in this year's silly season has a name. His name is Max Verstappen. And to this end, one Liam Lawson has stated his claim, though he'd love to remain in the Red Bull family, ultimately what's mission critical to him is that he gets an F1 drive. If Red Bull don't offer the New Zealander a seat imminently, and that means he has to explore pastures anew, Lawson says then, it is what it is. This will make interesting reading for Williams, Haas, and a team formerly known as AlphaTauri. And in other silly season news, Nick De Vries has spoken glowingly about Kimi Antonelli's debut in F2. The Dutchman speaks to the point that Antonelli has skipped F3, that he's adapting so quickly in F2, beating Ollie Bearman even, speaks volumes. And if your name is Toto Wolff and you've just lost your star driver, this matters. The Mercedes team principal will have this front and centre. All of Toto's silly season eggs are in the Kimi Antonelli basket. That's why Antonelli, as part of the Mercedes Junior programme, will be testing previous iterations of the Mercedes F1 car. Unless we forget that whilst Antonelli already has the requisite super licence points to drive in F1, he is still only 17. Max Verstappen first entered the Formula at the same age, but that was deemed too young. Thereafter, Formula 1 instituted a rule 18 now is the minimum age. Cue speculation from reporter Joe Sayward, who thinks that Kimi Antonelli might be in an F1 car, the Williams no less, as soon as Monza this year. That's the same week that he turns 18. This is a mega move by Toto Wolff if this happens, lest we forget that Logan Sargent is a paid driver. Indeed, a portion of Williams' income then is dependent on him having a seat. Oof, so you want to be a Formula 1 driver, eh? But as far as Carlos Sainz is joining Red Bull, there are various historic impediments to consider. Of Sainz and Verstappen's time at Toro Rosso in 2016 and 15, there is historical nuance to consider, writes the race's Mark Hughes. Because in 2015, lest we forget, Max entered Toro Rosso as the anointed one. His dad Joss for the longest time had offered resilience to entering the Red Bull Junior programme. Because having seen many a junior being left on the subs bench. He wanted promises, no guarantees, that at the earliest opportunity, Verstappen was going to be given an F1 seat. And you think that, like most, on getting the opportunity to drive in the most prestige formula in motorsports, that there'd be gratitude, humbled. Oh no, Jos Verstappen, not a chance. Jos was so intricately involved in the mechanics of the team that he questioned their decisions, complaining to Marco when he felt the team had made mistakes. Despite the protocol under France TOS being that both Sainz and Verstappen's side of the garage would work uniformly, Jos, via Marco, demanded that his son's side of the team worked autonomously. That's chaos. And that Sainz Jr. as a driver offered more challenge than was anticipated. Posits an interesting thought experiment if Sainz were to return in 2025. What would the team dynamic be? Could Sainz challenge Max Verstappen in out-and-out pace? Could Sainz really handle an Adrian Newey car? Who knows? And in other news, Leve Film Productions have released the trailer for the Roland Ratzenberger documentary. It been 30 years since the tragic race weekend at the San Marino Grand Prix that ultimately took Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna's lives. For F1 fans around the world, that documentary then will be a must-watch. Kleenex very firmly in hand. And as Ayaka Komatsu returns to the Japanese Grand Prix this weekend as team principal of Haas F1, he's reflected positively but pragmatically on the team's overperformance at the first 3 races this year. It's amazing, Komatsu told Sky Sports F1, we knew we had good race pace. Honestly, the whole team effort, 2 pit stops were perfect. The boys did an amazing job to get the drivers ahead of our competitors. It's an amazing team effort. I couldn't be happier. But Komatsu continues, if I'm honest, our race operation was not perfect. We could have done one thing better. In Jeddah, Kevin's early pit stop wasn't right, and that's something we need to look at. In this vein, Komatsu has impressed many an F1 aficionado, speaking with such maturity so early into his tenure. Gunther Steiner, who's that guy? And against the backdrop of simmering acrimony between the 2 Mercedes driver, one George Russell has said that he expects equality, parity as far as upgrades coming forth. On working relationships at Mercedes, George said it's like nothing has changed whatsoever. The team has been so great in giving us equal opportunities from the outset. It's always been like that. Whenever upgrades come to the car, it's going to both of us at the same time. Well, surely of Mercedes, Mr. Russell, one shouldn't expect any different, maybe. And in other news, one Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton has done an interview with GQ magazine where he's talked about a range of things. Under the umbrella term Life After F1, he's talked about music sessions, his interest in fashion. And some may read into this that Lewis is now more invested in that phase of his life than he is this. That speaking to the R word is to already be half retired. Techie this. But most pertinently, Lewis talked very explicitly about the fiasco that was Abu Dhabi 2021. Of Abu Dhabi 21, GQ reporter asked Lewis, were you robbed? Lewis's response, was I robbed? Obviously. I mean, you know the story, but I think what was beautiful in that moment, which I take from it, was that my dad was with me. Since hitherto we'd gone for this huge roller coaster that is life, the ups and the downs. And the day when it hurt most, he was there. And the way he's raised me was to always stand up, keep your head high. And I obviously went to congratulate Max, not realising necessarily the impact that would have. But I was also very conscious of there being a mini me out there watching. This is a defining moment in my life. And in that moment, I felt it. I didn't know how it was going to be perceived. I hadn't visualised it. But these next 50 metres are where I either fall down or I stand up. Oof, more powerful words in F1 you may not hear. No further questions, Your Honour.